Good evening from the UK. I'm Gloria, and this is Open Minds Live podcast, Non Duality. This evening, I have a wonderful guest. I think he's in America,
I'm in America.
Gary Lee Haskins. So, Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
You're more than welcome, my lovely. Now, Gary, we've had a sort of pre chat before the show, and you know where I want to go with you. I was on YouTube, guys. I don't know how it happened. It was another synchronistic event. It was one of Gary's guests. I wanted to listen to what they had to say, but I was more intrigued with the interview, which was Gary. So I watched a few more. I said, no, I need to have Gary on the show. Um, so, Gary, the question I'm going to ask you is a simple one. Where did your journey begin? How did you get into all this and the podcast and non duality and all the rest of it?
I mean, it's hard to pin down on like a certain day or a certain point, but how it began, I don't know exactly when, but how it began was just coming to a point of me saying, there's got to be another way. There has to be another way to live my life, to get through the struggle and to just not suffer anymore. And yeah, that's kind of like how it started. I would say it was probably a few years ago. I don't know. It was around the time when I started smoking weed. That kind of opened me up
Mm-hmm.
to a whole different perspective on myself, to see
Mm-hmm.
myself a little bit differently, see my circumstances of life a little bit differently, and just take myself out of the little box that I built up my whole life. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll say maybe like 5 years ago. I don't know,
Yeah.
5 to 8 years ago. We'll say it doesn't really matter when. Sometimes I think this whole started in other lives, so I don't. It's hard to pinpoint
Yeah, I'm
when.
with you. Yeah.
But how it was just from because I wanted to escape suffering, find a little bit of peace.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes from peace. We'll obviously get into this later in the conversation, but peace, happiness, that comes from your point of view in life. It's a state of mind, it's a perspective. It's a conscious perspective that you can
Mhm.
take of yourself. And that is essentially how we find this so-called peace, happiness,
Yeah.
love, nirvana, God, whatever you want to call it. It's
Mhm.
all how we view it. Life is all perspective. That's what I've come
Yeah.
to find.
Mhm.
You know.
So, was there a I mean, everyone, the audience know in my case, it was like 200 years ago, Eckhart Tolle wrote the book, The Power of Now. I picked up the book and it was on CD back in the day. I'm old. And I read it and listened to it. And the only thing I got was the direct go in then.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me from the get go. But the rest of it was above my head. I went off, had my children, had my life, played the victim, but intermittently there was things going. Obviously, hindsight's a bitch. You can look back and go, "Oh, yeah, I knew then, didn't I?" Like that. But it was that, and but like you, it was. I suppose if I go back, why it happened for me was I had enough of suffering.
Yep.
There had to be another way, and I had this quest: what is the truth? What is the truth? Because nothing seemed truthful,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Did you experience anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, pretty much my whole life, I've actually felt that we live in this kind of fantasy land. Like everybody's just putting on a show for each other.
Yeah, yeah,
But up until so I felt like that like pretty much my entire life. Like I said, like I thought school was a joke.
mm,
All the media was a joke. Like I knew just there was something up, like you said. And I've always had a yearning for the truth. So I would always read. I was always into history, just like a quest for knowledge. But then
yeah,
something changed when you go within and try to embark on that quest for knowledge of yourself. Like when you start asking, like, not only like what is this world, because that's what I was asking, like what is this world, why does everyone act funny
mm,
and not
mm,
act like they just like put on like a front. But then I was like, well, wait a second, let me turn those questions into myself, self inquiry, and
yeah,
actually ask like, well, if I'm really going to get any answers, which you really don't, the deeper you go, the more questions there are, but if
yeah,
you're going to get any answers, I'm gonna get them for myself first. So I started to ask, who am I? What am I doing? How did I get here in this body, in this life? The list goes on. I just the whole journey of truth that you described, it started on the outside world for me. Like, what is this? What is this matrix? And then I said, wait, whoa, whoa. I started to meditate, get into psychedelics, explore my own mind and the workings of my own mind. And that's when it started to get juicy. You know what I mean? That's when the party got started for self-discovery. Same thing with you?
It was, I think the kicker was 2003. I was busy in my career. Always thinking, even though I'd had what you call the satori or the glimpses, and I was all the things, you're still playing the role. You're still in the duality. That was just my journey. And there was a day, I was well in my career. I was in university, doing youth justice and all things like that, because that was a career I was in. And I had an experience that at the time, I really wasn't calling it divine. And the experience, because the suffering up to then, it was memories, it was thought suffering by then. I had noticed the change in how I didn't resist, how I didn't react, how I noticed it was working. And and I think at some point I thought, oh, maybe this is it. Fucking mistake. Yeah. Big ass mistake. And then one day I'm sure it's about 2003, 4, I can't recall. I was just sitting at my desk, in a chair, and all of a sudden I don't know if you've had these, but it was a fear like no other fear ever for me anyway. And I felt this like on the top of my head first. This is the first, I've had this 3 big ones, and that was it. And it was going, and then I felt like someone was dripping something down me.
Wow.
And it was going down, 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 but from the top. I'd heard of this so-called, don't worry about it, guys, Kundalini. Please don't go looking for it. And everyone said, oh, it's from the root chakra. And I thought, oh, fuck that. It's obviously not that. And it started to come down, and then it went down my spine. It was electric, and it was going down. And then I felt this energy in here, and boy, was I can't tell you how scared I was. And I couldn't stop it. I had no control, which fear increased. Palpitations, I'm going to die. That was then. And I call it the intimate now, because it wasn't talking. There wasn't a verbal, but there was a communication of some description. And the intimate was going, allow it. Allow it. Wow. Allow it. But this communication was so familiar, so loving, I started to relax the fear. And there was no communication. It was silent. However, juxtaposition here, questions came in. And it was like, you've still got this belief system or something like that. Give it up. And you can't trick this. And it was going on, and it was going down. It was down my spine. It was going through. I thought I was going to internally combust. It was energy. It was this intimate. And then it got to my big one. I've always loved what everyone calls God, not as religion God, not as a man with a beard, but I knew there was a source of unconditional love. And I adored this source out there. And it was give up. The intimate said, give up that God. Oh, I can't. No, I love him. No, like this. Allow. And until they got me, I went through hellfire, fears, everything. And in the end, it was allow. And I went. And as soon as that happened, joy, ecstasy, everything, and an awareness. Oh, I've always had that back in God. But I had to go through a roller coaster of fear that I'd never experienced in my life. Never, never, ever.
Was
And
this
that,
prompted by anything? Like, did you have any experience before this? Like something
I
happened
had
to you, or was
many
this random?
experiences before that. I mean, I was born psychic, and you know what I mean, telekinesis. I used to do telepathy, and I had all them things. So weird experiences I was used to. Seeing dead brackets, dead people. I was used to that. But
Mm,
this was nothing. And as I said, I kept hearing about this Kundalini that everyone, another belief system, that everyone said had to go this way. And mine whatever it was, came in that way. And it was that shifted me totally. Everything started to change from there. Everything. Then no fear kicked in. No, that stopped fear. And that started the work on memories, memories.
mm-hmm.
I'm not, it really got to work. So that was my big one. That was the one. Yeah, that was it. And a
Mm,
process ever since.
it's powerful.
More than
So
power,
what I
wasn't
there
gentle.
was so in that day, like that moment, it just happened. Like it was just grace.
I would say grace from the intimate, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
never
interesting.
felt so much love in the whole of my life.
Wow, that's really
Never.
interesting.
And then, it always stayed in the background, always stayed in the background, but there were still things I needed to still do. It wasn't instant, everything's gone. I still had work to do, so to speak, excuse the pun. It was,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got the second one, pneumonia, dying, and there was not the fear but there was a fear, but not like the before. So it was still, something hadn't shifted, energy hadn't shifted, something I was still attached to, identifying with, and it was all organs shutting down. I mean, this universe has a fucking great sense of humor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And again, it come again, but wasn't so bad. And in the end, I said, I've had enough. I'm not playing this game no more. I'm had enough. I'm not doing it no more. Come on, take the physical body. Let's die. Go. I'm
Wow.
not doing it. I've had enough. I'm stopping. As Papa G says, just stop the sir. I said, I'm stopping. Soon as that happened, it went like that. So
Wow.
I think when I was admitted a couple of months ago, physically dying again, I was not even perturbed. There was no fear.
Yeah,
I
because you already consciously died before.
Yeah,
Like you literally
yeah.
gave it up. There's a word for that in Sanskrit. I can't think of it right now, but that is like the goal, quote
Yeah.
unquote, of like meditation in Buddhist ways
Mm.
is to like, you die consciously, to die before you die. We mentioned this
Die
before.
before you die. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm awake or nothing. Fuck off. No, no. All I know is I had these experiences, but it wasn't to the one a couple of months ago. All machines were going off and you must be having pains in your chest. No, I'm not. Can I go and have a cigarette and a coffee, please? I was just peaceful all the way. There was nothing. There was no response from me. I was watching it. I was in it and experiencing it, but there was no suffering in it.
Yeah.
No fear.
Yeah.
None. And I didn't register that until I was released from hospital. Oh. So I don't know if they were just saying, just check. I'm still me. I'm still an arsehole. And, but 3 times, it's a very good sense of humor. Very good
Yeah.
sense of humor.
Third
So,
time's a charm.
yeah. Well, there you go. What can I say? So how did you go along?
Well, in terms of like epiphanies and revelations, like you've had, like downloads, transcendental downloads, I guess you could
Yeah.
say,
Mm,
they've all come from psychedelic experiences,
mm,
specifically magic mushrooms. Like I can
yeah.
remember the unconditional love pouring into me,
Yeah.
literally from experience with mushrooms that I did by myself. I wasn't out driving a car or anything. It was literally by
Yeah.
myself in my bed in the darkness. I ate a very decent amount of magic mushrooms because I wanted to get the message, and I got the message. And the message was, it was love. It was just like it was just this outpouring of love
Yeah.
much like you described,
Yeah.
that was just like just hit me, and I just couldn't do
Yeah.
anything but cry and sob and
Yeah.
just. But it wasn't like sadness, you know what I
No.
mean? It was just
No.
like it was a release of something. It was like some
Yes.
kind of energetic release that I was holding on
Yes.
to.
Yes.
And from there, yeah, I haven't looked back because once you had go through something that powerful, it was like a death experience. And once you go through like a death experience like that,
Yeah.
you don't let that go. That's not. I mean,
No.
you do let it go. Like it's in the past. I recognize it happened, but you don't let go of the lesson. You know, because I
Yeah.
think that's why we do psychedelics. I mean, I think that's the right way to do it, is we get lessons from these things, which is
Yeah.
essentially just lessons from yourself. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can't let that ever go. Like there's just something ingrained in me, in
Yeah.
my DNA, ingrained in my brain, whatever
Yeah.
it is, ingrained in
It's
my
always
soul.
it's always there. I mean, I always say, I mean, the difference is now when the first experience, because you have reality in the foreground, the intimate is or consciousness, whatever terminology, um, is always there, never not there. And then when the experience comes, the intimate comes to the foreground and the identity and reality goes to the background, so to speak.
Hmm.
And but then it's sort of, this is where people think they've lost it. I've lost it. I've lost the now. But really, sometimes it's just thought coming in, and you're still attached to something.
Yeah.
Um, or it's neutralized and become quite harmonized for you to play your role and play the game. But
Hmm.
it's always there. I have to say, since I was in hospital a couple of months ago, as I said pre-chat, what I've noticed since I've come out of hospital, if I if I'm not, excuse the pun, doing or talking, I'm in that space and I am laughing. My fucking face aches. My jaws ache. This joy just, and I'm in joy for no reason.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, I can't keep doing this. And I do this and I go, right, think of something serious. I can't. And I try and, right, do something. When I say let's do something, I laugh even more because there's no doing. So it's this, and I'm learning to harmonize with this experience, not to laugh at people. Okay.
Hmm.
But the humor is intensified tenfold. So if I talk to anyone, I'm always cracking jokes.
Yeah.
I
Same.
can't, I've seen the difference even from the last, I'm hoping it's the last one, by the way. You know, 3 and 1 could be some, sickness
I
and
think
threat.
so.
Yeah, I think it is. So, and again, after, I've heard some other human beings say, oh, I'm awake. Lethal to say that. As I said last night, don't go and write a book. Least wait, as Eckhart says, 5 months.
Hmm.
Um, I don't, there isn't, I don't feel, I can't even say it. I'm just had experiences I've experienced, and I've learned from the before think, oh, I've done it, bam, you're gone again.
Yeah.
I learned to shut my mouth and be humble each time, and it is different now, but it's to me it's a way we in juxtaposition coming from the identity is how we all individually travel this path, if
Yeah.
that makes sense to you.
Hmm.
I mean, so in your case, all of this has happened with the magic mushrooms. Did that encourage you to do the podcast, or were you sort of like your passion or something? Or
Yeah. For sure. Not right away though. Like I did the mushrooms, and then I did a little more mushrooms, and then I did them again, and I kept exploring what that mindset was. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, I gotta talk about this. I can't not talk about this with people. Like I have to. Like
yeah,
I felt like it was some kind of obligation from God. Like I have to talk
yeah,
about this or find out more about this as well. Like I didn't do it just because I want to talk about it, and like I think I know all the answers just because I tripped a few times. I'm like, no, I actually want to like talk to people that know more about it than
yes,
I
yes.
do and
Because you
learn
don't
about
know
them.
anything, do you? I know
Yeah,
nothing.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
yeah, the more you know, the more you don't know. So that's what I kept
yes,
finding out, and that was the idea behind me wanting to start the podcast, was just genuine curiosity. I think when you get on the path, it's like it's not that you have it all figured out. It's that you have nothing figured out, and but that doesn't mean you give up the journey of
No.
trying to figure it out and asking the questions. It actually, for some reason, yields more of a desire, not even desire, but yields more of just a way to orient myself toward curiosity and
Yeah.
wanting to get the answer, even though there's no answer. It's weird. It's
Yeah.
like, I know it's not, I'm not going to win the battle, but I still do it.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy the process. So that's what I wanted to do. Just find out more from people that have been through this before, pick their brain, and have some fun at the same time. Enjoy the process of doing that. And here I am. I'm doing it right now. I
You're doing
haven't
it
really
right now with
reflected.
me, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah,
I
literally.
suppose everyone, I mean, there are more non-duality podcasts now than ever. And it
Hmm.
seems to be in this reality a common factor that this is the way to go. Way back, people wrote books because these sort of podcasts wouldn't go out. They're still writing books, by the way, but this is now everywhere. Non-dual podcast shows everywhere,
Yeah. Yep.
and you can see it. And it's now, for me, in my experience, remember I'm talking from juxtaposition here, so I'm going into me. Um, this is normalized now. This is the way to go. This is it. Done, dusted.
Yeah. Hmm.
Never saw this coming, did you?
No, this
No,
is it's honestly, people don't think podcasts are as revolutionary as they are, but they
they are.
are. But it also depends on the subject matter. But if you do them in a way that is aimed at your own growth, and then
Mm,
thus the audience is growing with you, then I think they're good. They're good for there's humanity in general, and I think it's because of this, right? I was thinking about this the other day. It's because if I just go on by myself on the camera and do a recording, not live, nobody's holding me accountable for my words. Like, I could just say
no,
whatever, I could edit whatever, and I could
mm,
just make it look a certain way. But when I'm here with you, you're holding me accountable, and I'm holding you
yeah,
accountable for your words. So we
yeah,
can't bullshit. There's
no,
no, like, I have to be here and you have to be here as well. So
yeah,
that creates this weird dynamic, some like weird quantum dynamic in the moment. Like, literally what we're doing right now is like almost creating one mind from two minds. That
yes,
isn't possible if it's just like, well, one, I think another, being live is a whole different element as well, because that means
yeah,
you really can't bullshit. Like, there's no editing
no,
this. And then two, having another person also means you can't bullshit, because like I
yeah,
said, we're holding each other accountable. So
yeah,
that creates novelty. And I think in that novelty, if we're both authentic, we're both true to ourselves, there's something
mhm,
special there. Like, there's something
yes,
there's something cool about that, like creating a moment together that you
yes,
can't do. Like, you can't fake that. Like, there's
no.
nothing that you can't write a script for a podcast between me and you right now. You know what I'm
No,
trying to say?
no, no, no. You
It's
can't,
cool.
because I'm in total agreement, and I've tried to find ways to. I've never done a recorded show ever, even before this new podcast. I always say show up, be live. I've never had questions. I've always worked what I say in the now. I
Hmm.
listen to my guests. I make the space. It's got 100% of my attention. And as the questions come in, I trust nature that flows through me, that comes through me, that will respond and go. I don't resist. And way
Exactly.
back when it first started, I must admit, when it first started, and I was running groups, and I started to talk, the people in the groups noticed that my whole demeanor would change, my voice would slow down. That was at the beginning. As I started to allow whatever, now you can't, well, no one can tell the difference. I mean, I don't know the difference. And then I
Hmm.
go, well, actually it's always been there, and the only thing that was stopping it was the thoughts. it
Yep.
was it was the attachment to the identity. So, but when you get to this stage, I'm now talking to, I'm going to say other, oh shit, how do you say that? I'm now talking to other realized, in brackets,
Hmm.
realized conscious beings. So this is a first to go live on shows that everyone's doing around the world now, if you're doing them live, self to self.
Yeah. Mhm.
Self to self. So you go through the stage of recognizing the other is the self. And when you've done when that happens, and don't ask how it happens because it's too paradoxical to explain,
Yeah.
and then self to self. And I'm thinking, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It,
we're more than just talking about sports here. That's the
yeah,
thing, is we're
yeah,
actually, like, diving into I'm diving into your mind, you're diving into my
yeah.
mind in this moment, and then whatever happens from that, like I said, we're creating one mind. We're almost,
One mind.
like, acting as, like, a dual channel, you
Yes,
know?
yes,
And then from
exactly.
there, it flows out. That's what's cool about this. It's not just
Yeah,
like a regular podcast, like I said, talking about the news. And that's why I do
no,
it, because I truly enjoy this. I see this as, like, not just because I don't do it for clout, like, I don't do it to get popular or look cool.
no,
I do it because it's a meditative experience, and it helps me become essentially more intelligent and smarter
yeah,
and have more of
yeah,
a,
yeah,
an attention span. Like, I'm not focused on anything else right now. I'm not thinking about what I gotta do later
no,
today, the
no,
weird thing that I said before this to, somebody
no,
that I know.
no,
I'm literally This is a
yeah,
meditative experience. I'm here in this moment with you and
yes,
just acting as a channel to whatever greater
yeah,
intelligence that may be. And that is invaluable. I recommend anybody listening to this, if you want to, um, you know, I don't know, if you're really interested in what we're talking about right now, try it yourself. Try it with other people. Just actually have like a genuine conversation
yeah,
without any distractions. Nothing. Not talking about the news, sports, whatever it is.
yeah,
Sit down with somebody and genuinely get to know them in the
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
Because that is like, it sounds weird that we don't do that, but like we should all actually just get down and actually have real conversation, whatever that is, quote unquote real
yeah.
conversation. But you
I
know
know
what I'm
I'm with
talking
you.
about.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I always, just show up, and if someone's talking to you, give them the space. That means if you do that, 100% of your attention is, for example,
Hmm.
how many times, you see people meet up in a restaurant to have a meal together, and one of them's like that.
Both of them, all of them are like that.
Yeah,
I noticed that last night. It's funny you say that.
yeah,
Like, I went out somewhere and I was like, there was a family of 4 or 5 people. They weren't talking to each other. They were all on their phone. I'm like,
yeah,
what's the point? What is this world coming to? I don't
yeah.
know. Am I getting old? Like, what's going on here?
But see, prior, go way back, I wasn't aware of that. There was no awareness. So another thing that's close to, I'm going to say, my heart, um, is one first major thing is psychological suffering. What thought does.
Hmm.
Um, but two is for all those that are psychologically suffering to know there's a possibility to stop it. That is, I've got to say it. I'm sorry, guys. It's so simple. I know you hate me now. And you must know by now, audience, when I was told that way back, I told them to fuck off. It's not. That's the identity because I couldn't get it. But it's true. When it happens, you go, fuck. That's so simple.
Yeah.
Why didn't I see it? It's like the nose on your face. Do you know what I mean? And it's so to me, there's two major points that I think, especially your show and your podcast and how you interview diverse guests like myself in different ways, that you're showing your audience, well, if this way doesn't work, then try this way,
Yeah,
then try
exactly.
that analogy, or try that analogy. And it seems like the podcast hosts are trying to find multiple different ways to get it out there. It's part of the experience
Yep.
that this is now in the script. You know, I don't know, you can call it in brackets a new earth. I have no idea. Call it what you want.
Hmm.
Um, does that resonate with you at all, Gary?
100%. Yeah, you described it very well. And the
Yeah.
thing is, it's also on the other side of the coin. It's like, I like to explore other people's point of view,
Hmm.
but also it's good to note that that's not going to be your path. So if you
Yes.
are on this path of self exploration, recognize that somebody else's path is their karma. That's their circumstances that they
Yeah.
went through. And
Uh,
it's definitely good to take account of things that happen and similarities between you and that person and your path and blah, blah, blah. But don't make sure you don't even get too attached to another person's
Yes.
story. Not
Yes.
even like depending, because a lot of people that are on that have a lot of charisma. Like a lot of people that have been through
Yeah.
this, that they're easily they can easily attract attention. You can get sucked into other people's explanations and how they went about it. But I think it's also important to note that that's them, that's not me. I mean, well, at a higher level, that is
Yes.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that in our individualized self and our individualized journey, our karma, like I said, we all have
Mm.
different things to work through. So yeah, my goal is to definitely lay it out on the, lay it out for people, the different paths. But it's
Mhm.
also good to know that depending on how you look at it, it's like, yeah, you can take all of these different paths if you want, take a little bit from each one.
Yeah.
This works for me, this works for me, but you still have to do your own work. You have to go
Yeah.
within yourself and figure out what you need and discern what
Yeah.
knowledge is good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
total agreement. I mean, I have two things well, multiple things I don't shut up in my groups, but there you go.
Mhm.
I always say you can't walk in another person's shoes.
Yeah,
Okay. And no one, I use an analogy of the orange analogy. You cut it in half. I give half to you. I have half. We both experience the orange. However, we will experience it totally differently.
yeah, I like that. That's good.
And I use that because we've all been, whether you've been born, your culture, your race, your religion, your ethnicity, your economical status, whatever experience, I'm from juxtapositions, guys. Whatever you experience, that means there will be different work to do on every individual that is never going to be the same.
Yeah,
So there has to be multiple possibilities. The intimate consciousness has obviously scripted this. This is happening because it's supposed to happen. Hello? And everyone's doing this. So it can't be, there is no right, there is no wrong, but it's happening. It's a happening.
yeah,
So it's not an identity happening because it doesn't exist. So when you get that bit, it's a happening. So I agreed. Don't attach yourself to a spiritual leader. Don't attach yourself to a guru. I'm normally quite, harsh and tough in my groups. I press their buttons and annoy them. There's a reason I do it because I want them to deal with it. But don't attach yourself. But listen. Just by listening,
yeah,
it could be one guest will come on, and you just resonate with them. You just resonate. There's just
yeah,
something about that energy, and you're in, and that's all you need. So I'm in agreement. I mean, even though Eckhart did his bit with direct, the power of now, I suppose really, well, it was Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, his poetry, because I used to write metaphysical poetry of love. I felt that love. I knew that love, and I didn't know how I knew that love. That's always the way. And it was
mhm,
Alan Watts. I liked his approach, Alan Watts, the approach of Alan Watts. I like Rupert Spear's approach. I remember him talking to someone one day and they asked him a question and he just turned around and said, well, you don't exist. But then he'd come back with a concession to help and guide the consciousness back.
yeah.
And pop, it worked.
Wow.
So has there been any other, avatars that have really resonated with you?
Yeah, for sure. My list goes not in any order. Alan Watts,
Mm,
Terrence McKenna, Ram Dass,
hmm
Timothy
Oh God, he
Leary.
was funny. He was funny.
Ram Dass? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
like a comedian. He
yes,
did like stand up, as his talks were like him just making jokes. That's what was great
yes,
about him.
yeah.
Yeah. Who else? I mean, those are definitely the top right there that I just mentioned. There's other I like Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, Eckhart, yeah,
Um yeah, what
he's
else is
funny.
there? I also like old teachings, like, well, I like Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda. Like, I think, like the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads.
Yeah, yeah.
This I like, you can see the truth. There's
Everywhere.
truth. There's
It's
truth.
everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another big one for me, what I find hilarious. He's so funny. Is Sadhguru. He's funny.
He's good. I don't know. There's something about Sagru I can't get. I know he's speaking the truth, but he doesn't really resonate with me. I know, but I can tell by his energy.
Yeah.
Like he's just
Yeah, but he's
he's
for
there.
that culture, isn't he? He's for that culture.
Yeah.
It's for, you can see, I mean, that's that culture, it works. But when you see him in the United Nations and everywhere else, oh my God, he shifts and
Mm,
his linguistics change. But if you
yeah.
see him in his own culture, then you get it. And it's the same for Muji in
Yeah, I like
that culture
Muji.
out in Portugal. It's for
Hmm.
that type to bring that. So consciousness even has it going on in different cultures. You can see it. You can see past what's happening. I think being a Westerner, I suppose, really in my identity, I think that's why Alan Watts really
Yeah.
resonated with me. Alan
Yeah.
Watts was the one. And I always thought Eckhart Tolle was cute. I,
Yeah.
something humble, and there was a humility. So I was taking bits from, like you said, bits were coming, filtering in from
Yeah.
everywhere. And another one was I watched a documentary on Papa G. He just giggled, Papa G, and he just said, "Would you stop searching? Stop the spiritual past. Just give it all up." And that resonated with me.
Hmm.
That because I was one of those that went round everything way back in the day. I tried every religion in the world. I studied philosophies, the sciences, everything you could think of, everything. Criminology, I did the lot. So I did the lot. I was and then what an eye opener came when I read The Alchemist. You ever read The Alchemist?
No, but I have heard a lot of good things about it,
Oh
so
my
I
God.
gotta read it.
You need to read it. The Alchemist. And I finished The Alchemist and I went, shit, what I've been looking for, I'm the one looking. It's already here.
That's the giant joke.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then Rummy confirmed it. Eckhart confirmed it. And all the other names before confirmed it. But it took more than one to confirm it. I got to say, it's a real. Do you recall? Oh, I know I do. When I had that experience about give up your God, your love. I had to give up the love.
Oh.
It was really hard.
Mm.
And you got to give up something major. Did you find you had to give up something? Were you attached to multiple things, or was there a major thing for you?
Hmm.
Or did you like to suffer?
I still might. I might be a masochist. But
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
yeah, I don't think there was anything major that I can think of, but it was just like a gradual taking away of things and simplifying life because I think that's what the whole
yeah,
journey is about. Like once you get the message, it's like it's not what do I need? It's what do I not need? What have I built up,
yeah,
internally and externally that I don't need? What is just getting in the way? What is just being a distraction? So, I mean, a lot of things, whether it's relationships,
hmm,
um, material things like clothes, or me thinking I need to drive a Maserati or have
yeah,
$1 million to be happy, like whatever it is that I thought this is going to make me happy, or
yeah,
when I get here, this is going to make me happy. That's what I gave up. Just ideas, narratives of what happiness and peace was. I didn't
mm,
really have to give up anything drastic, like you
mm.
said. I don't know. I've never really had that experience, to be honest
I
with you.
I had that. It was this love. It was just this. I mean, I look back now and I know I was always there all the way through. However, that's when I look back, and
Yeah.
that pisses people off because that's I'm not here to do that. But I've got to say I had to give up that, and I was sick of suffering. It was
Hmm.
just constant, and then but I did started to notice the repeat of the same suffering as time went on. I said again, again.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
until you get the fucking message. And
Yeah.
that's why this last event, I think it was a joke because when I went in, I mean, there was no fear. However, there was something. And I remember I had this, I saw my children were crying because it was that serious. And I felt something come up. It was, it was like a an attachment. There was
Mhm.
just a little, and I felt it. And what a circumstance to be in. And when I recognized it, then I just, for my children, I have never loved my children like I love them now. In fact,
Oh,
I have to say, I didn't even love them before.
damn. Wow.
And they're little shits. I got to tell you, most of them are little shits. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That happened.
That's interesting.
That happened. That
Oh,
uh,
this
I
you
never
got more into
judged.
your heart.
Yeah, I never judged them before. It's not. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but it's okay. It's all okay.
Yeah.
It's just all okay.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
it's so that come out of this, but there was no fear. I did have a, people call it a near death, you can call it what you want, and at a crucial point I went to close my physical eyes, and I felt death but no fear, and I closed my eyes, and I don't know what happened, but there were two beings there, and in white. I don't know who the hell they were, and the intimate, or I or something said, didn't say, I was not in the ward, in the accident emergency. It's not your time yet. Because I was always one, I used to say, I want to go home. I want to go home. I've had enough. I used to do that a lot. And I
Mhm.
went, okay. And then I don't remember no more what happened after that. Things have changed since then. So there was obviously still a few little sticky bickies there that I was attaching to. And then I come out, I wasn't interested in doing shows. I'm an artist, as you can see. And
That's cool. You did that.
I'm an artist, and
I
I
like
do
that.
sculptures as well. I thought, oh, I'm no attachment to them. So my kids think now they can come and take them all, they can piss off. There was nothing, and I didn't know what to do about the shows. I
Mhm.
I thought, oh, well, I would just sit here and whatever comes, comes. And then it came, the passion from somewhere to create a new podcast. And I'm hoping, I am, allowing nature, life to flow through me. And I'll still fuck up. I'll still be an arsehole. I still swear. But it's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's the fun. That's what counts. Yeah.
It's and the authenticity, you just, no matter what you do, there's doesn't matter if it matters, but you don't do anything negative, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Because
Mhm.
people say, well, if it's is as you say, then you can go and do what you want. And no, love
Yeah.
wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Love can't, it's not in its, no, that's only part of the illusion, the dream, that's played out. But the truth doesn't do that. Does that resonate with you, or did I cock that one up?
No, that was good. I understand what you're saying. It's that, a lot of people, I guess if you don't know any better, could think, "Oh, nothing matters. I'm gonna go out and
Yeah.
hijack a plane and
Mm.
just, do whatever, crash it or just have some fun." I don't know. You know what I mean? Like get reckless, but it's actually not like that. It's like
It's
once
not.
you can get this quote unquote perspective we're talking about, it's more so like you do surrender to some kind of action. It's like you orient you I mean, essentially you could say it like you surrender to God and then you become
Yeah.
like an instrument. Like
Yeah.
you surrender to nature, maybe you could say, or surrender to the Tao, the flow, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
there's still one, it's not inaction, and two, it's action, but it's action according to some kind of internal intuitive guidance, like some kind of discernment that you get from how you're going to act in the world. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's important, because it's like, yeah, you can have all these crazy psychedelic experiences and feel the
Mm,
love, but it's like, all right, well, now what? We're still playing this human game. So
mm,
that's what's different about when people go into, I think that's what's important, is when you go into these non-dual experiences and you come back into the human form,
mm.
um, or the perceived human form, you still have to act. Like there's still
Yeah.
action here. There's still an energy flow. And what's different, what's important is that that energy flow is different.
Mm.
And you're still going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean you're a perfect being, but at
Yeah.
least there's an orientation to become a perfect being. There's a striving for pureness, for
Yeah.
harmlessness, for perfection and love in your life.
Yeah.
That's what's important from this.
Yeah.
It's that you even though you know you're gonna fuck up, like you said, that's okay, but you're trying a little bit
Yeah.
differently now, right?
Yeah.
You're acting out of love. That's what's important. That's like part one is the awakening of,
Mm.
oh, all is one. Oh shit, I'm
Yeah.
all the self.
That's a shocker in itself. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's, yeah, that's definitely a shocker because then you realize you've been living a lie. But then if you've been living a lie your whole life, it's like, well, how do I live in truth? That's
Yeah.
part two. Part two is like you, and it's not like you know how to do that. It's like
Mm.
that's the path. It's us figuring out all
It
in our
just
own way.
happens.
Yeah, it just happens. That's
It
true.
just
Exactly. It's
it's
it's the
happening.
it's the path to least resistance and least inertia in your life,
Mm.
honestly. Because how we started this whole thing was, we wanted a way out of suffering. So the
Yeah.
path out of suffering is to orient yourself with God. And I know it's not like, God's a heavy word, but I don't know any other way to say it.
Well,
God,
yeah,
love.
I don't have an issue with God. I call it intimate because the personal brackets experience is so intimate. But to me, it's I have no issue with the word God. I
Hmm.
don't have any negative connotations on the word God. Divine source
Yeah.
through the eyes, the hands, the actions, the words, everything. I don't have an issue. You can call it Jesus. I don't. It doesn't. No name would throw me. It can't be named. So,
Yeah.
but in the play of the divine form, it has to be named for this divine play to carry on. And when
Yeah.
you can get over yourself, yeah, and get out the fuck out the way, you can play the game. And
Exactly.
it doesn't matter what label you give it, it's still not it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not it, and you can't even God's truth, I don't know what I am, who I am, or anything. I don't know. I have nothing. And I remember way back in the day hearing about the Enlightenment and all these amazing yeah, right.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, is that it? Because that's a false identity path to achieve something, to attain something, to
Yeah.
become something. Every human being on earth goes through it, by the way, me included. We all went through it. I searched everywhere. I become a Christian. I become a Muslim. I become a Zen Buddhist. I become an arsehole. I become anything you think of. I read university, criminology, psychology. I did everything you could think of. That's how old I am. But that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
And, but when it happens, whatever it is that happens, you don't beat yourself up. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck.
Hmm.
It's like a joke.
Yep.
Oh, I was saying last night to Emerson on the show, I had a period of going around for a while. I don't know when it was. And I kept giggling, intermittent burst of laughter. And I knew there was something funny. And I kept saying that, look, come on, God. I used to say, God, come on, God. What's the joke? Is someone going to let me in on the joke? And it really was funny. And then eventually I got let in on a joke. I got let in on the joke. And I went, I mean, fuck, I can't even, I start giggling again. But it's not how spiritual guru, not the ones we've spoke about, but these up and coming love and lighters talk about. It's nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
It's, does this resonate with you? Do you want to add
Yeah.
to go?
I think the last attachment is spirituality. Is this
Yes.
new age
Yay.
spirituality.
Yay. Go you. Go Gary.
And it's ironic because that's kind of what we're doing right now, and that's what I do in my own time, is to
Yeah.
talk about spirituality. But I think in order to see the joke, the punchline, you have to see that even that is a joke. Even that's not going to get you there, even
No.
though there's nowhere to go. It's
No.
still like
Yeah.
that's the last barrier. But once you can see through that,
Yeah.
then I think that's when you can play the game. Like you said, you can laugh. That's
Yes.
that's when you can laugh. You
That's when
can
you
get
can
on the
laugh.
end of the joke. I like how you said this. When are you gonna let me in? That's how I approach it too. I have that mindset of
Yeah. Yeah.
like, oh, they're in on it. Oh, I can see. Like sometimes I can tell like when I talk to people that are in on it, quote unquote, when they want to play more. I can tell when they're playing. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah.
person's they're playing right now. That's
Yeah.
what we're doing right now. Like literally
Yeah.
right now, me and
We're
you.
doing it now. We're playing. We're playing a game.
This is just a game. Like
Yeah.
honestly, what we're doing is just playing a game back and forth, like tennis matches. Where you're sending it to me,
Yeah.
I'm sending it to you. We're just going back
Yeah.
and forth and playing this game essentially.
I mean, I got to
Yeah.
like jump in there because obviously I know I'm aware of you, but have you experienced it? Sometimes I'm talking to Joe Blogs, it could be anything, and they're talking, and in me I'm going, you know, pretending you don't know,
You
and I'm
know.
actually getting it more and more and more and more. Now
Yeah.
I'm going, you know.
Yeah.
And that is a new experience for me when I talk to people, not like you, because I know you're in on it.
If you
Do
know,
you,
you
do you
know.
get that?
Mhm. What's that?
That is weird. That's fun.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what? Go on.
go
Now,
ahead.
let me just tell you this. Hold on. I saw Muji talking in one of his satsangs, and he had a group of people, and he kept looking and smiling, and they were coming up. Oh, I got these issues, the problem
Yeah.
suffering. And he said, "You're playing a game with me, aren't you? You know." He said it out loud. He picked it up on the, and they're going, "No," but he'd connected to the consciousness, the divine. He'd connected to
Mhm.
that. So that's where I'm going with this. Have
Yeah.
you experienced that?
With others, you're saying like if I'm
Yeah.
in the presence of others,
Yeah.
honestly, in my personal life, not so much. Sometimes I do. I mean,
Mm.
I kind of keep to myself other than on the internet, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
there have been times. There definitely have been times, and it usually I could tell by humor. I could tell by like whatever's
Yeah.
happening in the
Yeah.
moment. They
Yeah.
crack a good joke, and then that joke just like it just breaks the threshold, like the barriers
Yeah.
that we think we have built up in our egos.
Yeah.
Whatever that joke is, or
Yeah.
we're both laugh, or whatever happens, or maybe something happens that we laugh at,
Yeah.
then I know they know they're in on it. So humor is very important. Like humor is divine. Not all humor
I
is
think
divine.
I think humor is the secret key.
Yeah, I think so
The
too.
secret key. And it's
Hmm.
always been there.
Yeah, yeah, because
Always. And all the teachers, past teachers, have said about humor, and they've
yeah,
all laughed. All
yeah,
laughed. So I in hindsight, the bitch, but I'm putting it out there, guys, so you don't have to go through hundreds of years like I did to get here, to wake up, whatever it is humor is the key. In my
yeah,
groups, I run two groups on a Wednesday and Thursday night for this sort of stuff. And I get them, everyone's got to crack jokes all the way through with the seriousness and before and after.
yeah.
But sometimes they push it too far. We finished at midnight the other night, and the lady who's in tonight, Donna Perry Harkin, she's here in the group, the chat. She said, no, it wasn't her, it was someone else. Well, it could be her, I don't know. Said, I got another 110 jokes. I went, fuck off, I'm going to bed. That's it. But that's what I bring in. With the seriousness, I keep that humor up. And I think humor is the key. And I think you're right. When you talk to another person and you start cracking the jokes,
Hmm.
when you're laughing, guys, and you're cracking jokes, there's no mind, there's no thought.
Yeah.
You can't think, I got to pay my utility bills. Oh my God, Gary cheated on me with a woman last. You can't do that. When you're in humor, there's no thought, no mind, no identity, no ego, whatever you want to call it, the illusionary. It doesn't exist. So
Yeah,
I think it's a secret key, and it's always been there.
it is. I think it's because it's like the mind can't make sense. Like it's the end of thoughts. Let's
Yes.
think of what humor is. Humor is like when either a situation happens or a story happens with somebody talking,
Yeah.
and the only option is to laugh. It's like you're processing the moment,
Yeah.
and then the thoughts don't. It's like the computer doesn't compute anymore. It's
No,
like when the mind can't. Yeah, it just can't go on. It just like the only
it
option
can't.
is to release this energy. I've tried to think about what humor is before, and I can't really explain it. But it's like
No.
it's very special because it depends what's happening in the moment, the right timing. Like a
And it's
stand-up
always in the
comedian.
now. It's
Yeah,
always in the now, humor.
exactly. Yeah,
Always, if you've got humor, you're in the now. And
yeah,
thought can't go in there.
yeah,
Thought can't describe it. It can't
exactly.
touch it. But with humor, it's always now. And there's no thought, no identity, no attachments, no nothing. You're in the now. And when you're in the now, there's humor.
Yeah,
And when you go through this and things happen to you, like you and me and millions of others, it's humor. It's the
mm-hmm.
humor stays. Everything goes, but the humor stays.
Yeah. And
Increases.
it really makes it sound like that this whole life is a joke. And honestly,
It is.
it
What
kind
you
of
said.
is. It really is. Except love. I think love, but even love is funny. I guess it's
Yeah.
like it's not that you don't take it seriously. I think you can get confused with, humor and not taking stuff seriously. It's like, no, it's not really like that. You can still laugh but take it seriously at the same
Yeah, you
time.
can. And it's not human love. Human love is
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah. Yeah,
Human love
that's
is
true.
pain.
It's conditions and
It's
yeah.
got conditions,
Yeah.
contracts,
Yeah.
and everything that goes with it. That's the illusionary love, that the role that every human being brackets is to play. And as I say to everybody, we're all on the stage, we're all actors, and we're playing a role. And then you get off, you go in the green room, and you're not that identity no more. But then you come back out next week's show and you play it again and you play the role. That's as simple as I can get it. But the humor never goes. In fact, the humor increases
Mm-hmm.
because it's not humor just laughing. It's joy humor.
Yeah.
Joy. It's a joy.
Yeah, you know how I can describe it? It's more so of laughing with the creator rather than at the creator and at yourself.
Yes.
Like
Oh
you're
God,
you're
that was
laughing
beautiful.
with, right?
That was beautiful. Don't you do better than me? I'm not having that.
I'm sorry. I'll
That
take that
was.
back.
I'm going to plagiarize you tonight. That was beautiful. No, that's a real good insight there. Why
Appreciate
didn't I
that.
think of that? This is the fun of this. I was saying to Emerson last night because he liked my word intimate. He said, I'm changing my definition to intimate. I said, you can't plagiarize me. He said, yes, I can. I'm like, yeah, actually, you can.
Yeah, I like that too. I've never heard that. I'm gonna start using that. So we
You're
can
going to use my
plagiarize each
intimate
other.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Intimate. And
Mm.
he said, I'm going to start using that. And you're most welcome to use it,
Yeah,
More
it's good.
credits to moi. Yeah. Do you know?
Yeah,
It's
of
not the
course.
ego. It's not the ego. But this is what happens. I just heard you say that definition. I went, wow, I'm going to fucking nick that one. That's cool. This is the fun of it.
Exactly.
There's no
Yeah.
hardship between it. There's no animosity. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. This
Mm.
is game play. I
Yeah.
want to ask you a question, though, because we've obviously talked about lots of delight. Hello, ladies and Gary. Hello, lady. I'm only one person. There's not two of me, is there?
Ladies and Gary, is that what they said?
Hello, Emma.
Can I see the comments or is this on somewhere?
Are
Oh,
you
okay.
able to see it? StreamYard. Are you on StreamYard? Can
Yeah,
you
I
see
can
it?
see it.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies and Gary. Yeah, there's only one lady here. I'm
Yeah.
not a lady. I do
And
not
I ain't in
identify as a
love.
lady.
Yeah. It's not me. Hiya, Emma. She's in one of my groups as well. She's a bane of my life. Troublemaker. She's the one that said at midnight the other night, I've got another 112 jokes, and I told her to fuck off. But that's the humor we use. I was going to ask you a question, and she totally threw me now. It's gone.
Damn.
I'll have to wait till it comes back. When you do your podcast, I'm going to sneeze in a minute, by the way. I just thought I'd let you know that as well. It's all going tonight. Hold on. Excuse me.
There we go. Oh, she was saying the ladies as in the chat, not as in talking right now.
Oh, they're not ladies. Oh, I'm with you.
We're all human beings.
They're not with you. They're not ladies. All right, Donna. They're not ladies. They're definitely not ladies. Do you know what I did last night, Gary? This is what you want this to happen to you. This is what happens to you when you lose your
Okay.
mind. And I
Mhm.
have to put out there again. If you lose your mind, it goes in a lost property. You can put it up there, but you better hope no one finds it and bring it back. I'm telling you, because it's too much fun when you lose your mind. I had these guys in a joke Halloween psychic group Thursday night. Okay, we all dressed as witches and whatever. I changed everyone's name to make it more funny, and I looked like a Puritan because I had a black hat on. So I named myself the Puritan. Yeah, all
Mhm.
fun. Way back in the day, the educated, university educated boy would never make a fuck up like this. And then before I had my guest last night, he invited me onto his recorded Zoom show with 50 other people. I mean, of course, I'll come in and say hi just before we go live. And I went in, hi, I'm Gloria from the UK. And I looked up and there was my name, the Puritan. Burns Richards. And but this, I'm going to come back at you. Do you find that you make these boobies or boohoos or fuck ups, and that don't really bother you? Does this make sense to you, or don't
Yeah,
you? Are you perfect?
I'm perfect. Yeah, I actually just have to declare right now on live
Yeah,
stream, I'm actually a perfect being.
you're, you're
No.
perfect.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm a human being. We all mess up. So I
Mm.
mean, that's the thing though too, is with this idea of non-duality, you actually become more human and more in your humanness. It's not like
Oh, oh, I
you
love it.
become divine. You actually, I
Yes,
feel like you get more accepting and forgiving of yourself.
yes,
So that's what I've
yes.
found. It's like I'm more accepting of my mistakes and my own clumsiness. And yeah, just laugh at it. You have to learn. That's another thing too. It's not, don't even laugh at your situation. Laugh at yourself and your own.
And then you
You know.
don't take life too seriously, or if anyone else is playing the role of the arsehole, you don't get offended and take them too seriously.
Yeah, exactly,
You
exactly.
know what what they're doing. I mean, that is a vital point because and one thing that does come up is how you react to others. We play the blame game, and how people say, well, how do you stop? I'm asking you, no pressure here, because um for example, if someone wanted to ask you, well, how do you not react in a situation? I have my version. What's yours?
I think that comes from training. It's not really like the reason I'm able to react differently in situations is because I regularly meditate. So that split second reaction of like, say somebody says some mean things to me, or I don't know, just like, honks at me in traffic or something like
Yeah,
that. That split second decision of me retorting to them or flipping them off in traffic or
yeah.
doing the negative thing, the negative energy aspect of that
Mm.
is from meditation. It's like I can make that split second discernment in the moment because I believe that I've trained my mind to be able to do that and be present in those situations. So I mean, if anybody were to come to me and ask me that question, I would say you. I mean, I'm not perfect. I definitely still mess up when I see this all those situations just as tests. Sometimes I fail the test, but I'm
No, but
able to
it
pass the
keeps you
test.
humble, Gary. It keeps you humble.
Yeah,
You have
yeah,
you have to fuck up, make
mm-hmm,
mistakes. It keeps you humble, or
yeah,
you give a chance for the identity to come back
mm-hmm,
and take hold of. So I'm with you on that one. Yeah,
yeah. So what I'm saying is like those are tests. In order to pass the test, you have to study, right? Usually. So I study myself and how my mind works.
yeah,
And if I do that in meditation, 10 minutes of quiet time,
mm,
I'm able to take that into the quote unquote real world and live my life almost as a meditation. So I don't mess up and punch
yeah,
somebody in the face when I shouldn't punch them in the face or say the wrong
yeah,
thing. It's all just through training. That this
yeah.
whole path, I think, is just training our mind to be able to act differently in the world. And it takes time. I believe it takes time, at least for me.
No, I agree. I mean, I don't use the word meditation. I just go in the now. Well, I'm in the now all the time, but
Mhm.
um, it's always there. But at the beginning, I kept, and that's what I share in the group. Just keep popping in, a couple of seconds at a time. Watch the thoughts, and then the more you practice this, that's before you give up the spiritual path. It's part of the spiritual. That is another joke. Um, that does it. Once you make the gap, you start to make the gap, then it naturally just happens. It just naturally, I mean, and I'm surprised. Sometimes you do respond when you need to. I mean, in Rupert and Eckhart will tell you, you don't sit there love and light. If someone's coming with you with a machete, you react. You
Yeah.
know, you do react. You're not like, oh, kill me, it's an illusion. No, it doesn't. You still got the natural instinct to survive, because the
Yeah.
whole game has to go on. We have to have that tool,
Yeah.
the survival tool. If someone went to punch me in the face, I'm sure I'd get arsey and ninja warrior them back if I could move my body that quick at the moment,
Yeah.
which I can't. I mean, them reactions are there, but it's the everyday actions. When you make that space, whether you call it meditation, I call it going into the now, doesn't matter. You make that space a bit of practice again and again, and then sometimes you don't notice to after an event. Oh, I didn't lose it this time. Oh fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no suffering. Once you get that taste of no suffering, you never want to be anywhere else. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. It's the
Yeah.
suffering is the one. What do you think of that one?
I mean, I think that was well said. Once you get that taste, you don't want to be anywhere else. And
No.
that does, you know, I don't know. It's like it's weird. It's a weird dance because it's like it's always here.
Mm.
It's always that no suffering, that peace is always here. There's nothing I have to do.
No.
There's nowhere I have to go, nowhere I have to be, nothing I need. But yet the mind still works. So it does its thing.
No.
The mind still thinks it needs something, but that's the dance. It's like
Yeah.
even just notice the mind thinking it needs something.
Yes.
Just notice the wants of the mind, and there's peace in that. Like if you can find the peace
Yeah.
in your mental illnesses in a way, in
Yes.
your own neuroticism,
Yeah.
that's where it lies. It's like I said before, you don't even become attached to becoming unattached.
No.
There is a weird dance in there. There's a weird dance of the mind to be able to do that. It's like it's weird. We can admit now. I can say on air, 100%, it's all perfect right here and
Yes.
now. I don't need anything. We don't need to be anywhere. It's all this right here. This moment is
Mm.
heaven. I don't need anything else. It's peace. But then,
And we don't have any ownership of this.
yeah,
There's
mhm,
that is so no ownership of the conversation or the podcast. There's no pressure, no stress, no suffering. If your guest turns up or not, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Who gives a flying
mhm,
fuck? And because there's no suffering at all, none. And it is, you get the first taste, let's say, of no suffering. You go, there is nothing you will desire ever, nothing,
because
because
desire is suffering. That's
well,
dukkha.
you're quite right on that one, because human beings in this role play are going round with multi-personality disorders, and they have no idea they're suffering psychologically. And to me, that's here. It gets me because I've been there. I've been there, and I don't belittle it in any ways. I can't. And I listen to people, and it's a thought. But you're correct. When you get to the point and you play the game with thoughts still come. Sometimes it comes along and it says something so fucking stupid, but I would have believed years ago.
Yeah,
I laugh. And I go, you're not getting it.
exactly. You
And I
realize that
laugh.
you're not the thoughts. There's
It's
a
like I'm
higher vantage
playing a
point.
role with somebody. Yeah.
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 It sounds weird. It sounds like a multiple personality disorder, if someone doesn't know any better, but it really is. It's like when people say the higher self or, your higher mind, it really is like that. And it's really just being able to exercise a different part of your mind, your booty mind, as they call it, which is your discernment. It's like that split second decision. Like we said, how we got on this, thing. It's like that being able to see behind your thoughts in a way. It's like another layer. And then from there, yeah, you don't get swept into your thoughts. It's just kind of like you just
don't.
watch it like a movie.
Yeah. And it's like I see now, as when thoughts come, I mean, I can sit with no thoughts, and I do that quite regularly. I just find maybe recharging. I don't know what happens, but it's just nothing. And but then I also enjoy the game. I
Hmm.
enjoy the game, and I sit there and and I wait for it. Sometimes if I wait for it to come in, it doesn't, but then it does. And but when they do come in, I laugh. I laugh, and I laugh because not. I laugh because I am fully consciously aware that before I believed it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. I also want to go back to something else you said that was really relevant, and I use it as well. What happens is after whatever happens that doesn't happen, all right, that didn't happen but is happening. I can't even. I just can't. Brackets juxtaposition. You become not just a human being. You become a conscious human being.
Mm. Amen.
Conscious
Hmm.
human being.
Yeah.
And you're in the now, aware, consciously. Just like you've gone and you're acting in a TV program. You know you're not the character, but you're going to go and play that role.
Yep.
Does
Exactly.
that resonate with you, Gary?
Yeah, that's the path. That's where we're all going. And
Yeah.
Buddha just means awakened. That we're all becoming the Buddha, essentially. What we're doing, Siddhartha Gautama was just the first one to do it, or
Mm,
one of the first ones to do it. And he paved the way for us to also follow along that path. And literally, he is not the Buddha. We are all the Buddha, which means the awakened one.
yeah.
And that's what we're all becoming. We're all just becoming awake to this game, this illusion, whatever you want to call it, Maya. That's what
Yeah.
we're all doing. We're all waking up to this weird illusion that we were born into. And yeah, it's just being happy. That's what it's about. That's why we're all waking up. I think that's the point of it. It's not just because we want to tell some cool stories on a podcast and
Mm,
get some clout. It's because we're all becoming happy. We're all becoming happy, and how you do that is seeing. It's not really anything. It's like nothing really changes, but your perspective on
yeah.
what you're being, and you see that this is all just a game, and that's how you become happy, is you see through the
Mm,
illusion of your own darkness and your own
mm,
suffering and the shit that we go through in our life.
yeah.
How we kind of circumnavigate that in a way is
Mm,
you just see that it's all a joke. That's what we're getting at. I think this whole conversation is like we're all just seeing that this is ultimately all just some kind of joke. There's definitely things that you have to take seriously here, but the
yeah.
majority of it is just kind of for laughs. It's just for giggles. It's like God playing a joke on himself.
Yeah.
And that's what
Exactly.
all Eastern philosophies have said.
All the way through. All the way through. I always say God, source, divine, intimate is playing peekaboo.
Yeah,
Peekaboo with itself. And however, the reality we're in, it is consciousness, God. So that is true. Watch the
yeah,
paradox. That is true. The experiences where experiences is the truth, but it's not what it seems.
exactly.
The
Yeah,
perception is from the limited physical viewpoint.
yeah,
So reality out there is true, but it's
mm,
not what we think it is.
exactly. Because just because
Because
it's an illusion doesn't mean it's not real. It just means it's not
yes,
how we see it. It's just like
yes,
an illusion. Think of a physical illusion from that you see, like a mirage. It doesn't
yeah,
mean it's not there. Like you're still seeing something, but
you're
you
still
might be able
seeing
to
something.
you
Yeah,
might be able to see through it now. You might be able
yeah,
to see it differently. That's what illusion is. I think a lot of people in this new age spiritual movement think illusion and relate it to not real, which means like a sense of like there's nothing going on here, which I guess you could also describe it as there's nothing going
yeah.
on here, but then equally there's also something going on here. They mean the same thing. But yeah, illusion isn't like nihilism.
No,
There's
it's
not.
not nothing like nihilism. No,
Yeah,
absolutely, it's not. I mean, if you want to go deeper in it, because the intimate God consciousness is truth, is the only thing that is. There's nothing other than it. you cannot deny the experiences, the flow of nature. You can't.
Yeah. Hmm.
You can never deny reality. So it's made me think of something. Someone asked a question to Muji in Portugal, and he said, "So, because of all what we've just spoke about, it's okay if I go and rob a bank." And Muji turned around and said, "It's okay. It's not wrong to rob a bank. However, you will have to spend some time in the dream prison."
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
we're all, you don't get out unless you're physically not here anymore. You don't get out of the game. You're in the game, but there is no you in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it. I can't even do that one. Can you do that one? Gives me a headache trying to do that one.
Well, I mean, a lot of people would think that I'm gonna get out of here, I'm gonna go hang myself or something like that, right? I'm gonna die, but it's not really that easy. I think you
No,
can get
it's
to a
not.
point of, I mean, you can think of it as like reincarnation in a way. You can get to a point. The only way out is in. Essentially, is
Yeah,
the only way to get out of the simulation or the matrix per
is
se
to go in.
is to become the matrix, and you
Yes.
become the simulation, and then from there is no pushing or pulling. You're just simply, you are the movie, and then from there the show must go on. You become the movie, and then
Mm.
there's no suffering.
No.
Essentially, it's like yeah, enlightenment isn't like an endpoint. It's like it's a it's a beginning in a way. I don't know. It's hard to explain. You can't explain enlightenment, but
An,
it's like,
an eternal beginning.
yeah.
It's an eternal beginning.
Hmm.
It,
Yeah. Yeah, there's
just
this story of I'll tell a quick a tale of a
go on.
man that he was going to visit God, right?
Yeah,
He was going on a walk to visit God, and along the path he came along this monk that was sitting in a meditative pose right by a tree, kind of like an image of the Buddha.
yeah,
And he walks by him, he says, "Hey, I'm going to see God. You got any questions for him?" And the monk says, "Yeah, ask him how many years left I have till enlightenment." And he said, "Okay, sure." So then he goes on, keeps
uh-huh,
walking on the path, and then he sees another man dancing, just enjoying the moment, and just enjoying nature, having a merry old time. And he
mhm,
says the same thing to him. "Hey, um, I'm going to see God. You have any questions for him?" He says the same thing as the monk. He said, ask him how many years left I have until enlightenment." So
uh-huh,
he said, okay, goes and meets God, blah, 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 gets his answers about his life and the two other guys' life,
uh-huh,
comes back on the path, sees the monk, and the monk asks him, did you get the answer? What did God say? How many years left do I have? And he said, well, you have about, well, it wasn't years, we'll say lifetimes. He said, you have 5 lifetimes left until you are enlightened. And the monk got outraged. He said, what? I've been sitting here by this tree my whole life. I don't do anything else but meditate. And he was just pissed off by the answer, right? He was just in a calamity about it. So the guy had to move on. He said, I'm all done with this. I didn't, he got him a little in an
uh-huh,
uproar. And he moves on to the other guy who was just dancing, having a merry old time, just enjoying the moment, enjoying the flow. I mean, he
mhm,
says the same thing to the traveler. He says, "How many years left? How many years left did God say that I have, or lifetimes left?" And he said, "Well, God said you have about 2 million lifetimes left." And the dancer said, "That's all." And he continued to go on dancing
yeah.
and enjoying the moment. And that story for me sticks in my being to the meaning of enlightenment. Is it's not about anything we have to do, anywhere we have to go. It's simply like just being here. You could have 2 million lifetimes left, but like as long as you're resisting it, even if you're going and following the path of meditation
Mhm,
and doing these rigorous exercises,
mhm.
you're not, it's not, that's not it. That's not the
Not
idea.
it.
The guy that's dancing that is going to be here for a very, 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 very long time, but
Mhm.
yet is enjoying the experience, is closer to enlightenment than the monk that works arduously at enlightenment.
I love that. I'm going to plagiarize you if I ever remember it properly and put it on one of my shows. I won't give you any credits for it either because that's brilliant. But it's a way of going deeper into it. People say to me uh, over the years, um, "Oh, maybe that happened to you is happening to you because of past life. And this is what I honestly say. I got enough fucking dealing with this one. Never mind any other motherfucking one. Let me get this right. I mean, why would I want to go there? And I would
Mhm.
never go there. However, the understanding comes when I got to use juxtaposition here. Let's use the label self-realization.
Mhm.
God knowing itself. It hasn't forgotten, but let's use self-realization. When that occurs in a conscious human being, you're already fully aware that the intimate God consciousness, Christ consciousness, Buddha, it doesn't really matter, is eternal, never ending, no beginning, no end, no nothing.
Yep.
And it's a creative energy. Well, obviously you're going to have more than even 2 million experiences, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because and the only time a fear comes in, not for you, Gary, I'm talking for anyone that would like to know a bit more, is if you're attached to anything in your identity that you think identifies you, you don't want to lose it. And it's the fear of losing this identity. That's where that other monk said, well, I've been sitting here doing all these practices 5 more
Yeah.
in fact, saying 5 more times a fucking joke.
Mhm.
So how does that resonate with you, Gary?
I mean, yeah, you summed it up pretty well right there. It's that the monk in that story, he was attached to his identity of
Yeah.
trying to be enlightened. And like I
Yes.
said before, that's the last one. Once you get
Yes.
past that, then
Yes.
I think you can, you're making some headway. But that's the thing is when you realize there's nowhere to go, there's no headway to make.
No.
So that's the weird game that we got to play in our
Yeah.
heads. But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's seeking that in life. I remember numerous times how this was broken down. I'll sneeze again in a minute. And I remember going, I'm not doing this no more. I've had a fucking enough of it. I'm not doing it. I'm going back. Of course you can't. And I'm not doing it. I'm not doing anything. And then I'd find myself doing some little practices or something. No, I'm not doing it no more. I've had a fucking enough of it. It was a natural, it wasn't Gloria, it was the consciousness brackets awakening. And it happened 2 or 3 times. I'm not doing this no more. I've had enough. Get me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to be me. And I couldn't. And I started to laugh. And then it was gone. But, my spiritual path wasn't meditation. Never fucking meditated. I experienced ETs and
Oh,
ghosts and things like that. Big time. Abductions. And so I never and I could every time I closed my eyes, I tried to join spiritual groups to meditate and go on this guided meditation, and I would see greys and mantis, and I can't do this no more. It never worked.
mm,
It never worked, and it wasn't for me. But I never had an issue going in the now, never. But
yeah.
that could be called a form of meditation, I suppose, because you can walk and do anything in the now. You can live your life in the now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the
So
goal is to make your life a meditation where you don't even think about meditation,
yeah,
essentially. I mean,
I don't
I still
need to get
meditate every
rid of the
day.
word meditation. Let's fucking get rid of that one too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You can't attach yourself to meditation, the act of
Yeah.
meditation either. But I still meditate every day, like I said. But it's funny to know that even if I didn't, I'd still be fine. But there's something in me that just
Mm.
feels the need to meditate every day. But even if
No,
I
it's
don't,
nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's obviously something in me that feels the need to go in the now.
same
There you
thing.
go. There's no difference between yours and mine. It's just a different label on
Yeah,
that connection. It's that
exactly.
connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty and the richness of why we do the podcasts, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going to experience it totally differently.
Yeah,
Everyone is going to experience it. And that's how it should be, or it'd be fucking boring.
exactly. Yeah, it's about the connection too. Some people can probably find it, driving a race car or playing an
Yeah.
instrument or flying a plane, going on a surfboard, being with their children. I don't know, whatever it is.
Music, art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Painting a picture, whatever it is, it's to be able to engross yourself so much in the moment that you lose your sense of self, and you're just this
Yes.
act. You become this, like, just
Yes.
go with the flow.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but you go with the flow and find out whatever you can flow with, however you flow. We all flow
Yeah.
differently, but I think we all have the sense to hook up to the Tao and tune in and then go with the flow, whatever it is, however way you do it. But yeah, I think we're all capable of doing that. I think that's where humanity's going, if you want me to be honest. Like, the future of humanity is all of us being hooked up to the Tao, hooked up
Mhm.
to God's Wi-Fi connection, getting the
Yeah.
signal, and just acting according to that. And thus, from there, we create a new world. We create a new world internally, and
Mhm.
then we create a new world externally. And I don't know what the world's going to look like, how long it's going to take, but I feel like that in my heart, that's where we're going. Inevitably, we're going to, like, this a new state of consciousness that is
Mhm.
inevitably going to bring about a new physical world. And
Yeah.
who knows? I might not be alive in this body, but we're gonna get there. I know the cat's out of the bag. We've opened Pandora's box of consciousness at this point,
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
higher mind, and
Yeah.
there's no going back. There's no
Well,
going
Gary,
back.
you've just answered my question. I was just about to answer you before we concluded the show. Where's this going?
Yeah,
So you're a bit psychic there. Do you know what I mean? Don't you outdo me. You know
I'm
what I mean?
sorry.
It's
I did
my
it.
show, okay, not yours.
That's what you
I
think.
was, I was just going to ask you that. Where's this going? And
Hmm.
oh, you beautifully. I can't follow that, can I? But I'm in agreement with you. Conscious human beings, and people say to me, well, what's going to happen? And there's so many love and lighters out there, and I have to tell you, no command station from anywhere else is going to come and do it. Just please remember that.
Yeah.
um I've never encountered, since in the last few months, so many, let me use a label, realized conscious human beings than I have recently. It's exponential.
Hmm.
And I have this thing I say when people say, well, I want to wake up. And it's no good saying, you're not asleep. It's no good. From my perspective now, I, intimate consciousness, am aware. That means every human being on earth is aware.
Exactly.
There's only
Yep.
one. There's not multiple gods running around. You can play the game of the gods if you want. That's fine. I could be. Who could I be? Zeus? No, give me a female god. Who was a female god?
Aphrodite.
I'll be a. Yeah, I'll be a. You can be Zeus. But to me, it's one.
Yeah.
It's just one.
Exactly.
And I can't even go any deeper than that.
Yeah, there's only one of us here, and if one of us
Exactly.
made it through per se, then game over.
It's game over.
Hmm.
It is literally is game over, and a new game begins. And the
Yeah.
you gotta. I've heard this before, and I really couldn't wrap your mind can't wrap its head around it. It can't. But it's a new. We're going into. Let's try another way. We're going to a new blockbusting movie, epic, and we're all. Oh fuck no! I can't do it. No, hold on. It'll come. Mm. You are going, instead of, prior to this, people say, why is life doing this to me? I have no control. You're trying to control life. You're trying to control everything. Everything. When you let go of all of that, you then are the controller.
Yeah.
How about that? You are the controller
Yep.
of the game. So
Mhm.
instead of playing the game and not knowing you're in the game, you become the controller of the game and you're part of it playing it. Is
Yeah.
that sound all right to you?
Yeah. We become the game and we realize we're all player one, but
Yes.
then from there, the game is still being played. We all take a hold of our controller in our own way and play it how we want to play it. Essentially, that's wake up to the game.
It's so hard. It's so fucking hard to talk about this stuff. You can't. But analogies have always been used and metaphors since the beginning of the creation of humanity. You know, the
Hmm.
masters before used analogies.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when I say to people, oh, they're human beings, they say, well, I can't be God. And or something like that, or they're trying to, because that is quite a little, because most people have religious upbringing, you know, blasphemers. And there's so many different analogies, but most of the analogies I use, they just jump out of my mouth, are by the prior awakened beings
Yeah.
as these analogies.
Yeah.
And they're still going to this day. Have you found that as well?
Yeah, and I think good analogies to use nowadays are ones that are relating to like games and computers
Yeah.
because we're essentially just like a computer. Like we have code,
Yeah.
we have a processor,
Yeah.
we have like energy, just like electricity. So I think it's
Possible microchips. Yep. Go on.
yeah, that's not yet. We're getting there, but yeah,
We're
we'll have
getting there for the microchips. Yeah.
yeah, we have a program that's
Mm.
running like DNA. So I think yeah, I like the old analogies, but the new analogy I like to say is that like we're in the matrix, we're
Yes.
robots, and
Mm.
we're the simulation. Everyone knows the simulation theory. Well, I think that's the
Yeah.
truth. I think that's the closest one that we can get to
I think
a
it
relatable
is one of
analogy.
the best. I do use the dream analogy a lot. I go into detail, but I like the Matrix. Matrix One to me is like a documentary.
Yeah, that's a revelatory movie. That's more
Yes.
than just like a drama like that.
Yeah.
That hits home. That's a religious movie essentially.
Yeah. That is telling you something. You
Yeah.
know, that is, and not everyone gets affected. Do you know what? I watched their recent one, and to me it was crap.
Yeah, I haven't watched it because I heard it was
Oh,
bad too.
don't bother. Honest, it lost its whatever it had. The one, it lost the one. It lost it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, what really got me with the Matrix is when Mr. Smith became everybody.
Mhm.
When everyone was Mr. Smith. It showed you the one in multiplicity. It was in there all along, always becoming unplugged. I think that film was really the start of kickstarting humanity to this non-duality. I think that really was, and people are still attached. But the last one, I don't know whoever did it. I don't know who influenced it. It did nothing for me. Nothing at all. Nothing.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't. Well,
agree.
maybe I'm in a different space now. I don't know, but it was an amazing, amazing movie. I could talk to you forever, but obviously we can't
Yeah.
because it's nighttime in the UK. And what time is it where you are?
It's only 3:30 right now.
Oh well, you're in the daytime. I
Mhm.
mean, you got to give out that you can advertise yourself shamelessly now. Where can people
Okay.
get hold of you? Watch your videos or blah 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 blah.
Well, just follow. I mean, most of my things are just under Gary Lee Haskins on any social media platform. So search Gary Haskins, and I will come up. Yeah, that's really all I got to plug. I mean, I'm guessing
And
you'll
your
probably put the description.
podcasts,
Mhm.
they talk. What his intro on his podcast is fucking awesome. Awesome
The
consciousness. I'm going. I haven't got that because I haven't got the time or the equipment to do it.
That's
Um,
funny. I appreciate that.
I love it. I love it. And your podcast is called
The conscious perspective. So yeah, you can definitely search that as well on all podcast hosting platforms, and you'll find me on YouTube too. So
Great
yeah, I'm
Interviews.
available anywhere you get podcasts.
He's all over the place. He's on toilet walls, bathrooms.
Yep,
He's just
everywhere.
got himself everywhere.
Everywhere.
But your interviews or your conversations, I love listening to the diversity. I just love it, and I love what you draw out of your guest. You get your guests to say things that maybe they wouldn't say normally. And I recommend you all go off now and watch, after you've watched all mine first, obviously, because it's all about me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm Aphrodite's, the queen of whatever I am. And he's just, so he ain't no one special, love. Do you know what I mean? But do, because your podcasts are amazing. They really are. And I do hope somewhere in the down the line, not too far away, I'll get you back on and we'll have another conversation.
For sure.
Because I just think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, thank you so much for coming on this live this evening. Do not go anywhere yet. To anyone watching live, or you're going to watch on the replay because it's Saturday night in the UK. My son and daughter are out. My son's performing tonight. It's concert, and my daughter's there with him. And you haven't got time. You're out doing your thing. Thank you so much for watching. Please share and subscribe. I'd be much appreciated. This is a new podcast, not the old ones. So please share and subscribe. Until the next time, I'm Gloria, and this is Open Minds live podcast, Non-Duality. Bye, guys.